welcome, gentlemen, and good to know that you are both from a diverse background, so to speak, and good to know, sir, that you are from a service provider, because I am from a service provider background, so we can have a good discussion here. So, yeah, so the topic what we will, try and discuss is where we see enterprise in terms of their data centers or their, their setups in the future and the near future or going forward, particularly from the way we see hyperscalers making big inroads in the local market with the AI coming in, and so just let's have a very broad overview in a few lines from each of you. That first of all, tell me where you are with your data center today. Is it in-house, outsourced, on cloud, hybrid? Where you are, sir?
Perfect, Mahesh. So, artificial intelligence data centers, there are two parts. One is training, and second is inference. So, we talk about training, the requirements are very different. The moment we talk about inference, then it can probably come in as a colo or a service provider because you've already developed a model. Just to tell you how the AI works, everybody knows, but just to bring the basics up, uh, the training model is basically a model development. It just gets fed with tons and tons of data, and it looks at the pattern inside and comes out with a model. It could be a LLM, it could be a graphic model, it could be anything else on prediction, and finally it ends up into a model. And that model has to be then rolled out on a inference data center, wherein the customers will start interacting with that inference model. Given that diversity, or given the basic difference in these two data center infrastructures, training, no customer facing, background activity, data intensive, very heavy, intelligence stuff, there is a lot of IP there and multiple iterations there, so the need and the scale and everything is way different than the actual inference engine. So that I wanted to set it in the correct perspective. So that is where the training one, we will
Yeah.
definitely have enterprise data centers as a major role.
Okay, sir, your views.
Yeah, since I come from the service provider industry, having moved from and actually come from the fence of data center colocation to cloud, currently our data lies primarily on the cloud. But coming back to your original question in terms of enterprise data centers and the evolution from the enterprise data centers to third party colocation, now this is a broader topic and we'll obviously discuss a lot that in detail. My two cents on enterprise data center evolution will continue to happen because there are still industries which are regulated. There are industries which require customized solutions, and hence the need for the enterprise data centers continues to be there. Uh, then there are organizations which are into research. There could be pharmaceutical organizations. There are manufacturing organizations who require very different kind of infra which cannot be built overnight, and cannot be built overnight either on a hyperscaler on cloud or on a, or even manage it from a third party data center which is co-location. So these are some of the use cases where enterprise data centers will continue to be there.
Yeah, I can sense the service provider background in that statement, and rightly so, I would say, because yeah, that's the way we see it as. Let me tell you my personal perspective on this, uh, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. There could be a couple of levers which will, drive the decision. For example, the first and foremost could be statutory, right? If you have a statutory requirement of hosting in-house or keeping data with you or whatever, that could be a no-brainer. You have no choice practically, right? The second would be the scale. If at all you are looking at scaling up fast, probably you have a decision to make whether to do it in-house and how far it is sustainable for me to keep on building the IT hardware, the services, the staff, and all that, right? And the third could be probably the skill sets. If you are doing various services, maybe you need a wide variety of skill sets. Again, probably a colo provider or a service provider has a better system there to support you guys. So what would be your, sir, lever, if at all, which of this would be your influence to
Yeah, yeah, perfect. I mean, just in sync with what you exactly said. I'll just add something more to
please,
it.
please.
First is on the training one, we didn't want to. I mean, any enterprise wouldn't want to get into a vendor lock-in. First, I don't want to depend on one vendor saying that this is what it is, and I will have to continue with that because something else comes up, a different technology or different perspective comes in. The AI has a different dimension altogether. I would also want to explore that. So having said that, I can probably do that with a multi-cloud. But then the second challenging thing is the regulatory, where the privacy and the security of the data. The Indian standards are evolving. The foreign standards have. I mean, the Western world has already established their standards. India is still evolving, but then we are where they are there. So having said that, the privacy and the security of the data has to be with the enterprise. If the customer is me, I want to be the single point of responsibility because I cannot say I will have a shared responsibility. If there is a data leak or there is something related to data, I cannot say I am sharing responsibility to XYZ. If it is enterprise, he is my customer, I want the data to be with me, and regulatory also asks for that. So that is second driver where I want to build my own data centers to have that enterprise. Third part is innovation. You've seen that the technologies evolve so fast. I mean, the AI use cases are changing every day. And one fine day we have LLM, and the LLM version changes in next 10 days. Then we have image graphics coming in. The technology is moving so fast. If I have to depend on a third party, then I will have to go through a learning curve of the third party first and then utilize that. So I would want to cut short that. So I will directly start talking to the hardware manufacturers. It could be NVIDIA, it could be AMD, it could be Intel. I would be actually interested in doing that so that that way my learning curve is gone. I can directly interact with, come with fast deployment, and innovation is the key. I mean, if you are doing innovation, definitely you want to do it as fast as possible within your full control. And the third factor or the data transfer is another big challenge. If I'm doing it with a third party, there'll be huge amount of data which I will have to send to the third party to run the models. And the data transfer engine will probably run something and then give me an inference model. But then sending the data itself to a third party becomes a big challenge because the data is not just a simple data transfer mechanism. It is huge data running into hexabytes. So that again remains a big challenge. So owing to these 3 4 points, I think it is better that the enterprise decides to do their own training and own AI infrastructure data centers.
Interesting. Yes, sir. Your views?
Yeah, so I believe that different industry cohorts and different industry verticals would have their own individual needs for taking that decision. When you look at banking, when you look at manufacturing, the needs are different. Uh, if you look at purely from let's say legacy systems, from the legacy systems point of view, it's very difficult for a lot of organizations to actually move that kind of infrastructure towards either cloud, and if they already have invested a lot in skill sets, then the only two options are continue in the existing enterprise data center, or evolve and move towards a third party data center colocation option. uh, they also have to keep in mind two more things. One is the data privacy laws, which are existing in the respective countries. From India perspective, it's DPDP. Uh, the regulator, there are regulators like SEBI, RBI, especially from the banking perspective, who require certain audits, require data to be. They should, so there should be enough confidence available, especially if it's a core system. And from the core system, both from the DR perspective and the audit perspective, uh, it's possible to do it on a co-location, it's possible to do it in an enterprise IT data center, but becomes a bit challenging to do it on the cloud, because then you have to also say, you have to also prove where the, not just the secondary data but the tertiary data is lying. And that kind of can become challenging, because organizations are looking at, when you look at models of DC, DR and near DR, From the co-location perspective, you tend to look at 2 or 3 different providers and with specific geography requirements. Putting that same thing on enterprise IT data center becomes a huge challenge, which means an organization will then have to build 3 data centers on their own, or if they are looking at cloud, again providing the similar experience on a near DR or for a tertiary DC is quite challenging. And hence, from the core systems point of view, uh, colocation works best.
Okay, so that's quite a different view. So let me ask you, Ravi. Sorry, you mentioned about the AI, right? So from what is coming, what we see coming is that GPU is now offered as a service, right? So probably it's all bundled in. You don't have to worry about training. You just have to specify your inference and it will just dish out. I mean, that's the way it's being planned to roll out, right? With the high density workloads. So what if that comes as an offering? You would still insist on being in your own, or you would still want to leverage that new?
Yeah, good question. I also agree with Shailesh because when it comes to inferencing, yes, I mean the colos and the cloud providers and enterprise, all three will remain because it's not mutually exclusive. The customer facing, when you want to ramp up the capacity, yes, fine. That colo and cloud providers will remain, no problem. The interesting point you brought, Mahesh, is about the GPU as a service. Yes, if you look at the way we have been rolling out, we have a concept called Geo Brain. The first and foremost principle Geo believes is that we would want AI to be available to everybody. Everybody meaning irrespective of the social and economic status of a person in India. It is not only for a few selected privileges. So what that means is the onus is on us to launch something like a Geo Brain. A GeoBrain is a entity which will be rolled out. That GeoBrain is nothing but a suite of applications and tools. What that would do is it will just offer AI models and AI tools at the primitive level at a very affordable rate to start with. And then we will start building up that as an ecosystem. What that means is, if you look at, say, retail, the biggest challenge for a retailer is to how to reduce my inventory, how to make my customer to get the product at the right time. Prediction, just in time. The prediction, that's the biggest advantage of AI. If you look at the AI model, what they help you is to get a prediction. Prediction on the retail will help me a lot. I mean, any retail consumer who's taking a GeoBrain service will definitely help. He will get benefited out of it. A farmer taking a GeoBrain service will be able to take crops around the year instead of depending on a particular season, and also with less water quantity. If you look at pharma, as Shailesh just rightly pointed out, the data crunching is enormous. Whatever iterations were required, maybe 2 years of simulation, 2 years of data crunching, that can happen now in 1 week. And it's not exaggeration, it's happening. We can see that whatever used to take 2 years of data simulation and crunching is now happening in a week's time because of GPU. So pharma will also get benefited out of it. Education, yes. Entertainment industry will also get benefited out of it because now you can see high definition graphics. Generative AI, that's the other very big thing which will the entertainment industry will be thinking about. You will start seeing the movies and serials which are coming out, especially the Geo Media content also. You will see a step change, so everybody will get benefited of that Geo Brain. So that I think is a differentiator, and to do that differentiator I should have my own infrastructure, and to offer this AI for everyone, not limited to a particular class.
Yeah. So looking at the scale and volumes and the width you are talking, it's no more an enterprise. You are already a service provider, right? Right. So you have your, the base customer base is huge. Uh, the applications are diverse. So I think for you at your scale, probably it does make sense to have that. So if he offers you what you need, would you buy his services, sir?
So I'll possibly look at it from two viewpoints. One would be a logical viewpoint, and one would be a radical viewpoint. So, if let's say Jio was to offer me services which required, and you specifically spoke about GPU. Um, if I was currently on my enterprise IT data center and I had moved a lot of workloads to a third party colocation provider or to cloud, and my current enterprise IT data center is getting unutilized, possibly then, and if I am from a research based organization, then my radical view would be that I would like to test my models on my enterprise data center. I have the wherewithal, I have resources, probably I require quantum computing systems, and the GPUs, the kind of GPUs which I would require, I'll use it on my own. But if I'm on a little tighter budget and I don't have the skill sets, I don't have people, I would obviously go to a third-party data center provider, or to a third-party cloud service provider, who would be able to offer me those GPU-based services, which will be on pay-per-use model. And anyways, I'm not carrying any baggage of the past or any legacy systems, and hence for me, it is a normal course to do that.
Right. So thank you. I think we are running out of time. One quick question and a quick answer from both of you. Are there specific verticals you see holding on to their own data centers, or vice versa? Which will be the first ones to go out?
Yeah, no, no, I can I can really answer that really quick because that is very in the flow. So first is we are uniquely proposed here in the field which we are looking at sustainability. The kind of power we have today, I can easily have a 1 gigawatt solar power available at Jamnagar, and I can set up that data center there, and it becomes a sustainable power. So that's one big differentiator. Second, I have my network. So I have my 500, close to 500 million customers in there who are supposed to get benefited out of it. We already launched Diwali offers on the 100 GB data and all. So those things are happening, and we also want to look as the vision as Vikasit Bharat 2047. So GPU as a service, LLM model as a service. Precisely, these are the things, teraflops as a service. When I say flop, the flop is no longer about film industries. Flop is floating point operations per second, and we are talking about teraflops. So teraflops as a service. That's one addition to what you just said. So that could be one of the offering which we would be doing, and I think we are all uniquely placed, ready to take up the challenge head on and move forward. And definitely the colo and the cloud industry is there to support. Absolutely.
So your question was which are the industries which will continue to be using their enterprise IT, and I'm also combining that enterprise IT data centers and third-party colocation providers. So it's an obvious natural answer. Organizations which are regulated, organizations which require or which have core systems, or organizations which have absolute legacy systems where they cannot actually think of moving on the cloud. So these are organizations, obviously like BFSI, healthcare, these two being, and some of the PSUs. Uh, but what's the way out is, and then there are organizations who have to also look at, they've already invested in not just the enterprise IT data center, they've also invested in these skill sets heavily. They've also possibly invested in that infrastructure. They've also invested in going through applications of getting uh, power allocated to them, which could be small pieces of 1 megawatt, 2 megawatt, to build their own enterprise IT data center of 100 to 200 to 300 to 500 racks. Now, even such organizations will find it difficult, but there's always a way out. Means one radical thought is that if they are having excess power, and if their enterprise IT data center is in the outskirts of city, why not actually do a CSR activity and power up the nearby villages, as you keep decreasing your power requirements internally within the IT data center and moving it to the third party colocation data center or on the cloud. So just a thought.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's all good news for even the colo guys and the enterprise guys. There's enough for everyone here, it looks like. Thanks to people like Geo, you will have better service offerings. And definitely the enterprises are here to stay. Not all of them are going out. So good news for all of us. Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing your views. Thank you for being here.